Welcome. I'm Amanda with Every Further Mile, and I just really wanted to tell you about pet sitting. We did this for, let me put this up here. We were stayed in the UK for about 9 weeks. 8 of those weeks was for free, and we were able to go to 5 different cities and towns throughout Scotland and England. And then were able to take about a week in there to travel to a few different places that we really wanted to see kind of in between our sits. And that really only cost us about $700 in accommodations for an entire 9 weeks. 9 weeks. And that is in the summer when the UK is at its most expensive. I mean, it's expensive all year round, but it's at its most expensive in the summer. So I really want to share with you kind of what we got to see for just $700 in accommodations and just the benefits and why it's so wonderful to be able to do pet sitting. So the first place that we went to was London. We did have to pay, although there are trusted house sitter um, opportunities there. Like we're pet sitting there, not just trusted house sitters, but there's pet sitting opportunities there. We were just getting started out, and London's a really competitive place to try to get pet sitting. So that was a little bit hard for us. Now that we have some under our belt, I'm more confident that I will be able to get in there at some point soon. But either way, because we were pet sitting in so many other locations, it freed up so much of our budget that we were able to spend a couple of nights in London and spend 3 days just checking out this beautiful city. Oh my gosh, I loved London. It's basically my new favorite city in the entire world. I mean, there are lots of beautiful ones, but it was one of my favorites. We got to take the time to enjoy some really cool activities. Like this one was called the Cauldron, where you go in and you actually make like potions, drinks basically in like cauldrons and on like with these science beakers and things like that. It was super fun. The boys loved it. We loved it. It was actually great for the whole family, truly. In fact, I think there's more adults there than there were children doing this. And yes, there are some adult drinks, not just kids' drinks. And of course, we've got to walk around and see all the major monuments while we were there. And I even actually got to meet up with some friends that I like. We were kind of like business friends online that we had been in connecting together for actually at least a year or more. And we actually got to get together in person because of this trip. And we got to the Ritz and really just kind of had some fun having some tea time together. Anyway, our first sit started in a place called Tunbridge Wells. Now, I had never heard of this place before we started looking into pet sitting, but it's actually a really beautiful town, maybe small city. We got to stay there 5 days, 4 nights, and it actually worked out because I think this wasn't the first sit we booked. It was just a sit that I was actually able to put in because I was like, well, we have these few days that we need to fill up, and this ended up being perfect. It was like the right amount of time that we needed just before our next sit started, and we got to take care of beautiful little Bonnie. She was so adorable. What a great first sit. She was just a very easy, laid back dog to take care of. We would take her for walks, but then, when we weren't taking her for walks, we would also go out on our own and hang out in Tunbridge Wells, taking in the scenery, enjoying some, cafe and like some cafes and some restaurants and things like that. He even got to go on a little train ride and had some treats together. From there, we went up actually to kind of like south. Kind of took a trip up through South Scotland. We really wanted to show the boys a bit of Scotland in that area. And so we spent 2 nights, 3 days. We did spend a little bit of money in between, but again, that's okay because we saved so much with pet sitting, and there's going to be a lot more of that coming up soon. We got to see things like Maxwell House, the Kelpies, and the beautiful like rolling hills. We got to go to Stirling Castle, and we even got to go to like my husband's kind of ancestral home area, which is in Kenmore. And the next pet sit was in Edinburgh, and we were there for 3.5 weeks. We got to spend 3.5 weeks for free in Edinburgh. And actually, Edinburgh is full of free things to do. You can do so many things without having to spend any money if you didn't want to. Of course, it's also very easy to spend money because there's also lots of things that you're going to want to do that do cost money, but you don't have to. You really could go and spend so much time just walking around their botanical gardens, taking in the cool museums that they got there. They have so many things that are free, and in fact, I've made a video about that. So if you go to our YouTube channel, I'll link it probably somewhere below on this page. But if you go to our YouTube channel, there is absolutely stuff there about Edinburgh and the things that you can do for free. We got to take care of Rusty and Ollie, and they were both sweet dogs. And obviously, our boys loved them. I mean, they loved all the dogs for sure. But this is not the house we stayed at with that purple door. This is just a house that we saw while we were in Edinburgh. I try to make sure that we don't take pictures of the places that we are staying in, but I did take a picture of the bath because it was super fancy. And I really wanted to show that while you're pet sitting, you actually get to live sometimes in these very luxurious places. I promise. Like, there's so many amazing, especially in the UK, it's like so many houses on there are these gorgeous old places, and you could absolutely end up staying in these places. So this house that we stayed in was like a 4-story house, super lovely, old stone house, steps away from a bus stop, 10 minutes from like the downtown core on the bus. And it was so perfect. We couldn't even believe that, like, how much we were able to see and do while we were there. So we would leave, maybe for a few hours a day, go head downtown, enjoy the scenery. And it's not even just downtown. There are so many places and different neighborhoods in Scotland, in Edinburgh to go see. And so we definitely highly encourage people to kind of get out and do that. So that was one of our favorite sets for sure. Cranley was really great. We got to stay there for a week and a half. The town's a cute little one, but oh my gosh, we love these dogs, Ollie and Indy. Ollie was a bit older, he was a bit slower and things like that, but Indy was a character. When you do pet sitting, you just really fall in love with these dogs. They are so funny sometimes. And Indy, he just loved to find like the funniest places to sleep and just tuck himself into. It was so funny. And he's just such a personality. We loved him so much. While we were there, we got to go to this cool like Renaissance festival, with which my boys loved so much. We got to go to like the Standing Stones. Something to kind of keep in mind about this pet sit is that actually some do come with cars that they allow you to drive. This one in particular, we did have to pay a little bit for their to be added to their insurance, but it was so much cheaper than if you were to rent a car, like crazy amount cheaper than if you had to rent a car. Now, this isn't available at all places. Not everybody has an additional car, but in this instance, they had one that was left behind. They asked us, and we accepted and paid them for being able to just kind of be added to their thing. And we didn't use the car a lot, but we did use it a little bit. And one of the instances was to go to the Standing Stones. So that was a wonderful little addition to our stay there. In between sits, we went into Nottingham. Now, this was a must stop for us in particular because our son is obsessed with Warhammer. And so we got to go around to some like the historic places, but we also got to go to Warhammer World, which he really loved, and it was actually a really good sit for us, or not sit, stay for us. So we really only spent like 2 days there, but it was really wonderful to be able to see that city. It's a really nice one. My son actually wants to live there now, so that's like his goal in life, is when he gets older, he's going to live in Nottingham and work for Warhammer. Next sit was York. Now it's so hard for me to pick because I really love London. I really loved Edinburgh, but I also really, really loved York. York is like maybe anyway, I love it so much. It's like one of my favorites for sure. And so the architecture, oh, sorry, this is Dora. We got to take care of Dora. She was sweet, little dog. I mean, you do need to keep in mind sometimes when you are pet sitting, you're taking care of dogs that are coming. She was a rescue dog. So there was a bit of an anxiety that came along with that. So that was my son up there as one of the top photos, sharing his blankie with her. But she was still a very sweet dog, even though she had, some heart. You got to come into a house and know that you're dealing with dogs in different situations, including one previously that I showed you where they had to administer medication because of different, like diabetes and different things like that. So, but yeah, York was, oh my gosh, the architecture. I can't even get over how amazing it is. I could just walk there forever and always and never get bored. And we were in like the downtown park, and they had like these people all dressed up in these costumes. I think it was like some sort of society of like people who like dressing up in this way. I don't even really know what it was, but they were super gracious and let our son like just kind of see the things, like all their their getup and everything. It was really cool. Then our final sit in the UK was in Dorchester. And up until this time, we had loved every sit, absolutely. But something I didn't think I even realized that we were missing from our kind of UK experience was this adorable little village. We got to take care of Pongo and Echo while we were there. Sweet, sweet, sweet dogs as well. I mean, they were all just great. I loved all of our dogs that we got to sit. And this one was that quintessential little village in England with the thatched roofs. And oh gosh, I fell in love with this place just walking around. It felt so laid back, right? Like the cities, I just kept like, I felt like I had to go to new place, new place, new place, new place, and which is awesome. And there was so much to take in. Dorchester was different in the sense that I literally just felt so laid back there. You could just go for little walks, meander a little bit, walk through the countryside. We did so much walking through the countryside with the dogs, and loved it. And of course, there's actually this little cafe that they had going like there at the end of that road, where they had also these llama or alpacas. Anyway, it was a great little cafe. Loved Dorchester. It was really sweet. So we did all this using trusted house sitters. And the reason we used trusted house sitter in particular is because we really wanted to be able to do pet sitting in a way that felt kind of more secure. Because, I mean, there are actually Facebook groups that you can do it for free and go on and just put your stuff out there. And there's other websites as well. Trusted house sitters just felt like the most professional. And I really enjoyed being able to kind of just feel, it just felt like when we went on there, we would be able to trust that the pet, like that the sit was going to happen. Because you do have to pay a little bit to join. So it just felt like a bit more of a commitment. And when we were relying so heavily on our budget, it just felt really necessary to make sure that we were using something that felt more secure. And it did. And you have to like, what's it called? So you have to like show them your documentation and prove that you're like a real person and all that kind of fun stuff. We started in the UK. There's actually the most pet sits there using trusted house sitters anyways. I think it's because the app got, or like that program got started in the UK and therefore they had the most sits there, but they also have them throughout throughout the EU, Canada, US, New Zealand. We actually almost took one in New Zealand for like I think it was a good 2 months, but we just couldn't the flights to get there was just enormous. So we ended up not being able to do that. But there are so many great ones really all across the world, and including ones where you get to stay for not just a day or two or a week or two, but up to months at a time if you really want to. And you can do this as a single, a couple, a family. Now, I will say there can be a bit more challenges as a family to find a place. There are fewer to choose from, partly because, some people just don't have a home big enough for an entire family. Maybe because their dog isn't great with kids. There's all kinds of different reasons. But also, there are some families that prefer to have, or sort of like some pet sits where they prefer to have families. This is very true for a lot of the sits that we went to where they had kids at home. And so these dogs were um, used to having kids around. So it ended up being really good. And they would pick us as a family over, let's say, a single person or a couple because they loved that it was going to be, a nice full house with kids again. But also, though, overall and in the end, singles and couples, it is a little bit easier for you to find sits. The duties can change depending on the pet. And so we took care of only dogs, partly because I'm allergic to cats, and it just seemed to be the easy, like it's just how it kind of turned out, really. But there are definitely cats, birds, reptiles, rodents, chickens, farm animals. In fact, we just did one here in Canada that was with horses and ponies, and chickens and cats and dogs. So, like there's absolutely a variety of pets out there that you can take care of, and it doesn't always have to be dogs. I mean, I would say dogs and cats might be some of the most time demanding. You don't have to do pet sits for them necessarily. I mean, they're definitely the most out there though. But even with them, you're often able to go out for 4 to 6 hours, depending on the animal that you're taking care of. And it's something that I always ask because for me, I'm just not willing to take care of pets for free if I don't get to leave the house. It's just not fun for me. We're doing this so that we can experience different areas. And really, for me, the trade-off is I will be there to make sure your pet is taken care of, let out, walk, feed, fed, all the like medicine, all those things that might need to happen. But in exchange, I do get a place to stay and I get to go out and enjoy the area. That's for me what's important. So, pet sitting, who it's for, who it's not for. If you are somebody who loves pets, you gotta love pets, right? It makes sense. If you're happy to explore one city, town, or region at a time, like we did, kind of like 3.5 weeks in Edinburgh. If you travel full time, that's what we were doing at the time that we did this. If you're slow traveler, same thing. We really wanted to do more slow travel. It's better for us with kids. Um, if you love getting up and exploring, if you're a single couple, family, if you're retired or semi-retired, I've actually have friends who do this, who in their kind of semi-retirement or retirement, and it's such a wonderful way to travel and save money while you do it. If you're a digital nomad, because these places will come with internet and comfortable home, easy to do your work from. If you're on a tight budget, obviously, this is a budget friendly way to travel. If you like the comforts of a home, so I mean, we've stayed in Airbnbs, but even those don't feel super homey, right? They keep them pretty bare minimum and they don't even have all the essentials all the time. A home has all of the essentials and then some. It literally feels like a home. It's like you go in, you feel like I'm in a home, and it feels quite nice, especially if you're traveling a lot, to feel like you're actually in a home. And in fact, that's one of the things I love about pet sitting too, is that these dogs are like, if you're traveling a lot or full time or whatever, these dogs act like this wonderful way to make a connection. It helps us feel far more connected as we traveled. When you kind of like missing home or missing some of those things, pet sitting. It's a great way to help kind of ease some of that missing home feelings. And obviously, if you're respectful of other people's things and good at cleaning up after yourself, if you're trustworthy and professional, those are just requirements. And then you have, if you're so who it's not for is, if you don't love pets, don't be a pet sitter. I mean, that makes sense, right? If you want to fast travel, it's not great for fast travel because you just don't really have certainly you have lots of time, but I don't think you have enough time. If you're fast traveling, you really are going to want to have your time left set aside for going and sightseeing and doing the things you want. If you're wanting to sleep in, if you want to be able to sleep in, it's probably not the best thing for you. Maybe depending on the animal that you're taking care of. But dogs, cats, generally you're going to have to get up a little bit earlier. And if it's dogs, more often than not, you're going to have to get up earlier to get them out, get them for walks. Cats, they still have like kitty litters and stuff, right? Dogs, you got to let them outside. So there were instances when we had to get up really early. We didn't mind that whatsoever, though, because it actually was another thing about pet sitting that was great. It gave us routine. When we weren't pet sitting, but we were traveling, we just kind of got lazy a lot of the time. We just slept in all the time. I mean, it sounds nice, but honestly, it kind of throws you off. And it's sometimes hard to get yourself motivated to get up and go, even when you're in cool, amazing places. So this allowed us to, make sure we were getting up, we're getting out of bed, we're feeding the dogs, we're taking them for walks. It gets you up and moving right away. And it's just a great way to kick off your day so that you can get out and do the things you want to do and see. So who it's not for as well, if you're only there for like a week or want to see as much as you can in that week, something like that fast travel thing, really. If you want your accommodations to be like a hotel, it's not a hotel. It'll be a fairly clean place, but they're not going to be nearly really even. I don't think we've ever been to a pet sit where the house was like spick and span like you would expect in a hotel. Also, you don't have somebody there to clean up after you. You have to be the one to clean up. So if you are that sloppy person or not willing to clean up after yourself, if you're kind of untrustworthy or unprofessional, please do not do pet sitting. It's not fair to the pet or to the owners, the homeowners or pet owners. So I just really wanted to do a day in the life with a dog. So you're going to wake up according to the pet schedule. You're going to take them for a walk and feed them. Sometimes they wake at like 7 a.m. Sometimes it's 8 or 9. The owners will let you know all that kind of stuff. It actually makes it so that you can get more out of your day, like I was saying, and you can mix things up and bring them for hikes and walks all over the place. So we really did that, especially in Edinburgh. It was so easy for us to mix up kind of where we were bringing the dogs each day. Although we did kind of stick because of one of the dog's needs. We did stick close to a similar path, but we enjoyed it. We loved it anyways. Um, you have time to explore. You can go out for 4 to 6 hours, depending on the pet sit, and you can explore the town or city. Sometimes you can bring the pet with you. Actually, a lot of times in the UK, they have like restaurants and stuff, like stores. You're allowed to bring dogs in with you. You can get back in time for another walk, go to the park, feed for dinner, hang out with them a little bit. And if you really want to, you can go out for dinner or for the evening. We didn't do this a lot, also because we have kids, but it is absolutely a possibility. And otherwise, you could just sit and chill and cuddle with them. It's wonderful. Oh gosh, I miss Indy. He was funny. Steps to pet sitting. So, number one, you're going to set up your trusted house sitter's profile. You're going to add your references. You're going to explore your house sits, right? You're going to look at the map. You're going to see what there is out there. You're going to set alerts for destinations and dates. So you can go in and can be like, okay, I really want to see if there's some pet sittings in Italy in like April or something like that. And they will actually start sending you alerts as soon as a pet owner or house owner puts something up. And then that way you can get ready to apply right away. And you're going to create an application template. And the reason why you want to do this is because Trusted House Sitters has, for some reason, decided to only allow up to 5 applications, which means that, like at a time. I mean, at a time. So 5 applications at a time. So you need to get your stuff in there really quickly. So if you have an application template already, then that will be far better for you. You're going to apply to the houses that you want. Hopefully they'll be interested, and then they'll be able to set up a video or phone interview. I prefer video because I really want to know that person's real. I want to see a little bit about what their house looks like. I want to know how the kind of dog might like. You can't always tell a lot by just a little interview with the dog and their behavior, but it is helpful to see that. And I just feel like it builds this trust to make sure that everything goes smoothly. And it's the same for them. They want to know that I'm a real person and that I'm going to be able to take care of their dogs and that our kids are not going to go crazy. So we would often bring our kids into the video just for a portion of it. To ask questions and to get to know them a little bit. You're going to prepare your sit. You're going to get your flights ready or your transportation ready, and you're going to get all ready to go. And then you're going to complete your sit. So how to apply your profile. It's really important for you to fill out as much as possible, including adding photos with pets as much as possible and external references to get you started. It's a lot like a resume, really. You're going to apply. You'll want to be as professional as possible and ease as many concerns as you can. Be positive, show how much you care about animals, explain that it could be your first time on Trusted House Sitters, but it might not be your first time taking care of pets. You're going to ease your mind about being there as much as you can. You're going to set alerts and apply ASAP. Yes, that's right. As I said, only 5 can be applied. They only accept 5 applications at a time. So I've actually created a Trusted House Sitter step-by-step guide. So I've gone over a lot of the stuff in this video, but there are so many things that you're going to want to do and make sure that you get right in your profile so that you can get sits right away. I've created a simple step-by-step guide to help you maximize your potential to get pet sitting opportunities. My background is actually in resume writing. So I think that helped us a lot, and we were very successful. I mean, we certainly had some sits that we did not succeed in, partly maybe because I know like one, even though they said family friendly, they didn't end up really having that much space, not for us with 2 kids. And also some we were just not fast enough necessarily to get in there. But we got so many great ones and we were quite successful to just like book up our entire summer. It's low cost, so I created it. I made it very low cost because I want it accessible to everybody as much as possible. And but it did take time and expertise to be able to put it together. So I am making it. So I just kind of feel like $10 is about appropriate, not too much money, but enough that I feel like at least I'm getting something for the effort I put in for that. So you'll save that and obviously so much more just on your first sit, right? Even with your Trusted House Sitter fee and this, it's still like your one sit will save you money on both of those things. So inside the guide, just so you have an idea of what you're going to get inside there, is we'll go through your entire profile setup. So there's like an introduction section that they have you fill out. So I have that letter template. They have a section called why you want to house sit. I have a template for that. About our pet sitting experience, I have a template for that. And then the application process, I bring you through that as well. So I give you an application template, rejection response template, interview questions to consider, post and post acceptance, like what you might want to kind of send back to them after you've accepted, and about your sit. So just a guide as to what to prepare and all that kind of stuff, and like how it's going to go, and some tips really on how to make it a successful sit. So, if that is something that is interesting to you, then I will have a link below, both to the Trusted House Sitters discount link as well as to this Trusted House Sitters Step-by-Step guide. I hope that you guys set up for this because I promise you it is worth it. I love pet sitting. And I think it is one of the best ways to save money as you travel, and to feel like you're in a home and to feel connected and to live in an area where you actually get to meet some of the locals because like for example, we would take the dogs out to dog parks and we would meet more people because and we're meeting more like locals and all that kind of stuff, having conversations with them, or to be able to experience towns and areas that you just never would have thought to go to before, like instead of just the main tourist areas, which you can still do, but also some of these other towns and cities that you may not have thought to go to before. And you really just get to know that kind of more about the people and the country and the culture because you're kind of going to all these other places as well. So I highly, highly recommend it. I hope you use my guide. I think it will really help you set up for success, to get your first pet sits lined up. And I and I wish you so much success in being able to take this step, enjoying your travels and enjoying the pets that you get to spend your time with. All right. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you every further mile. And please don't hesitate to go to my YouTube channel and check out our videos there and subscribe. Follow us for all kinds of amazing, kind of budget friendly and fun tips for travel. So I just really wanted to do a day in the life of the dog. So you're going to wake up according to the pet schedule. You're going to take them for a walk and feed them. Sometimes they wake at like 7 a.m. Sometimes it's 8